on your computer, send me a copy. So he did, and then they weren't able to be here today. Exhaustion sets in after a while with young parents, you know. Remember those days? I must still be a young parent, because I'm still exhausted. But he set it up perfectly, and I'm going to read a little portion of it before I get into this. I didn't say anything to Tim about it, but just keeping an eye on him and helping him throughout the week. I was thinking, he's not looking too good for Sunday. So I waited until Friday, and I said, so what are you preaching Sunday? And he just kind of nodded, and he said, I got nothing. I said, well, I may have the follow-up to Caleb's sermon if God doesn't give you something. He didn't say anything more about it. I already had it all ready, as ready as I could get it anyway. And last night, he says, are you serious about the sermon? I was like, well, I better have been, because it's tomorrow morning. So maybe he'll join us. If not, he'll get to see it on YouTube afterwards. Let me pull up what Caleb sent me. I couldn't get it to print, so I had to pull it up on my computer. There's my little handheld computer here. Those of you that were with him last week, remember that a portion of it was, he talked about pirate ships and all that it takes to sail the pirate ship. That you have the captain, who is the head. I've got to find them all. Here we go. I couldn't remember all the things that he named, so I had to get them. You have the captain, I'm just going to read his, that says, the captain's job is to bark out the orders that are going to keep this ship afloat. Well, maybe we don't bark, but we don't bite either. That's a good thing. The quartermaster makes sure that the captain's orders are followed through. The sailing master's job is to navigate that ship through the storm in one piece and still know which direction you're headed in when you come out the other side. Rigging runners are to climb aloft the sails and tie them down or unfurl them as the captain barks out the orders. And shipmates act as apprentices, learning a task to be the next in line if something were to happen to the man above. So remember all of these pieces as we go through this, because we're going to go to Exodus this morning. Chapter 14 is where we're going to begin, but we're going to be putting together a puzzle. So actually, I'm sorry, 13. I hope by the end of this, you see the big picture. Have you ever put puzzles together, or let me say this, have you ever started on puzzles and never finished them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a puzzle person unless it's got like 10 pieces and they're about this big. That's the kind of puzzles I like to do. I like the preschool puzzles. I can start and finish those. I don't like the puzzles that are like 5,000 pieces and they're about this big and it takes you 2 months to put it together. No, thank you. I like to start it and finish it. I don't like long-term projects. So we're going to go over to Exodus 13. And when we start into this, we're just going to be reading portions of different parts of the story as the Israelites are coming out of Egypt. And those are going to be our puzzle pieces to put together for the end. So in relationship to what Caleb said last week about the pirate ships, Tim is our captain. Our captain's been down for a little bit, but that's okay. Captains get sick, captains get hurt, sometimes captains just need a break. And we might not understand it, but we still have the quartermasters and the rigging runners and the sailing, whatever they were called, and the shipmates that are all here to keep it going, to keep it sailing. So that means that you quartermasters have been very busy, because the captain has been down for a little while. So go to Exodus 13, verse 17. 13 and 17. We're going to read just a portion, the very beginning of that says, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country, though that was shorter. How many like shorter when you're traveling?
Yep.
You got that little thing on your GPS that says, take the shortest route. There's a scenic route. There's usually the route that you don't want to take, and that's usually the one the GPS picks for you. You end up with all the road construction and everything. Well, I like to take the shortest route when possible. I like, fastest route is usually a straight line. But with God's plan, sometimes shorter is not quicker.
That's right.
And sometimes shorter is not better.
Right.
And that's exactly what God had in mind for the Israelites when He led them down that road. He said, shorter's not better here. Shorter's not the better way. We like to label the better way as an instant way, a complete way, a point A, point B, done kind of thing. That's kind of what it would have been like in Tim's situation had God said, okay, allow this, but I'm also going to instantaneously heal you. We're going to have prayer at a specific time, and there's going to be an instantaneous healing. That would have been the shorter, better way, in His opinion. Amen. Because He's the one that suffered. He's the one that's still in pain and still weak and still fatigued. But God said, that's not my way. That's not my plan for this. That's not my plan. It would have been shorter, quicker, and better. But there was things that we all had to learn that had God done that, we would not have learned.
That's right.
There were blessings that God wanted to give.
Amen.
That had Tim not suffered, God couldn't give.
Right.
There were jobs that God wanted you to step up and do that had Tim not been here to do them, you would not have stepped up to do them.
Amen.
There were positions that needed to be filled that the captain was still fulfilling, but it wasn't his job. He was just doing it until the right man stepped up.
Amen.
And now's that time.
Right.
Now's that time. When thinking about a ship, I'm sure there were times that these big ships, like these cruise ships and all nowadays, would like to take a shorter route because they're out there for days, weeks, months. But sometimes those shorter routes with the bigger ships can run them aground.
Right.
Because the water gets shallow.
Yes.
Hear this now. A big ship can't float in shallow water.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
Well, one day we're going to grow up and be a big ship. And you can't float in shallow water.
That's right.
Right? God wants us in deep water so that we can stay afloat.
Thank you, God.
He wants us to stay afloat. So God had allowed us on the shorter route, we would have missed out on all of that. The opportunity and the blessing to assimilate everything that through our Christian life we've been taught. So now jump over to 14 and 1. Exodus 14 and 1. So we're on our journey, our longer journey now. And then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back. Well, wait, we just came out.
Yeah.
And now we're going back? Well, there was a purpose for that too.
Amen.
Some Sundays we may look around and think, well, there's not very many people here. Where is everybody? Wednesday nights we might look and go, well, where's everybody? Where's the kids? Where's the adults? Where's our family? They're not with us. But it's okay because big ships move slow sometimes.
That's right.
Big ships move slow. We haven't reached a stalemate. We're still gaining ground at God's speed. God's got us moving just at the rate that He wants us to be moving on. We're not turning backwards. We're not going backwards. But sometimes when you go slow, it feels like it.
That's
It
right.
feels like you're slipping because we like to have things happen fast.
Right.
We like to see progress
That's
quickly.
right.
I mean, think about these interstates and the road changes they've been making. It's been a long time. But then when it gets finished and you get to drive from Washington to Winterville, and you don't have to go all the back roads and all the stoplights and all of the Greenville craziness. It's going to feel like it was finished in no time at all.
That's right.
No time at all. Look at 14:4. And this is the reason why God said, turn them back, and why sometimes we don't move so quickly. But I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all his army. And the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. See, if God had done everything just like that, there's a lot of people that would have never known what was even going on.
That's right.
Because it was so fast, they missed it. But God had a plan to set in motion for all of this, and he put it all in motion so he could gain glory through you. Through you. He wants to use this entire situation. You know, we might look at it and think, well, you know, yeah, Tim's sick. He's the one that's down. You guys are the one that's dealing with it. But we're not dealing with it alone. Our family that's here today, thank y'all for coming, has been with us every step of the way. You guys have been with us every step of the way. You might not have been right by our side at the hospital or whatever, but you were with us in prayer.
Amen.
And